I'm Archer,
I'm Savannah.
and this is our essay project. Our topic is, why is Victor the real monster of the story?
And our subtopic is, what is a monster and what drives someone to become monsters?
We have a lot to unpack in those topics, so starting off is, what defines Victor as the monster rather than his creation? In the book, the creature is like a murderer, and everyone's like scared of him, including Victor, which is terrible. Victor's an awful parent to it. So the creature was like innocent until it was influenced by the world. The creature just wanted human companionship, but it ended up killing people as revenge for being abandoned, which is Victor's fault because he abandoned it. Victor was the monster because he abandoned his creation and lacked responsibility for his actions. He's also a monster for more obvious reasons, like digging up graves and literally like stealing body parts and making humans. That's a really freaky thing to do. Even when Victor and the creature met again, the creature tried to reason with him and establish a relationship. But Victor still refused. Here's a quote. "Remember then thyself, but I will not be tempted to set myself in opposition to thee. I am thy creature, I ought to be thy Adam, but I am rather the fallen angel, whom thou drivest from joy no misdeed." It's page 38. 83. 83. Page 83. Another quote to back up this claim. "You accuse me of murder, and yet you would, with a satisfied conscience, destroy your own creature. I ask you not to spare me. Listen to me. And then, if you can, and if you will, destroy the work of your hands." The creature knows that it's a danger to the world, so it begged to be destroyed. This shows that the creature puts others before itself, very selfless creature, and wants to work for the greater good instead of personal gain. That quote was from page 84. The butterfly effect of Victor's actions and how it led to more tragedy and loss. There's a lot of examples of butterfly effect in the book. His first mistake, Victor, was obvious his obsession with knowledge and power. He got way too obsessed, just like all of a sudden. And this led him to make very poor decisions, like making a human out of body parts. That was not a great decision. If he didn't have so much like thirst for knowledge and power, he would never have tried to create the creature. Victor didn't think through the creation of the monster. He just like took the most body parts that he thought was pretty and then put them together. Like, I don't know why you would do that. He was more focused on whether or not he could create life and like be an amazing scientist and create this amazing creation. And he's so power hungry. And he failed to consider what would happen after the fact he created the creature. But Victor quickly realized he had made a mistake when it woke up, and he was like, that thing's terrifying. But instead of trying to help the creature or protect others from it, he just ran away and left it out to the world. And that led to the countless murders of his loved ones and others. So that was not great. Like, he left the monster unsupervised, and the monster wreaked havoc, as I said. Victor continued to avoid talking or taking responsibility for his creature, which means he abandoned and neglected his child, a human he made, because that's like technically that's the definition of a child. The creature had no guidance and turned into a monster because Victor neglected his creation and treated it so poorly.
And then, how did the creature become evil through the influence of the world? So in the beginning, the monster was innocent and just wanted human connection. He didn't have any like ill intent. He just wanted to connect with people. He was driven by human desire, which eventually led to monstrous behavior. After being cast out by Victor and harshly judged by society, the creature began to resent the world, and that's what drove him to become monstrous. So a quote from chapter 7, a flash of lightning illuminated the object and discovered its shape plainly to me. Its gigantic stature and the deformity of the aspect, more hideous than belongs to humanity, instantly informed me that it was the wretch, the filthy demon to whom I had given life. Another quote from chapter 13. When I looked around it, I saw and heard of none like me. Was I a monster, a blot upon the earth from which all men fled and whom all men disowned? And another quote from chapter 16. I am alone and miserable. Man will not associate with me, but one as deformed and horrible as myself would not deny herself to me. My companion must be of the same species and have the same defects. This being you must create. And then in volume 2, chapter 7 of the graphic novel, Victor and his creation were talking, and the creature asked Victor for a companion, but Victor refused. Then the creature said, "You are in the wrong. I am malicious because I am miserable. You, my creator, would tear me to pieces and destroy my frame, the work of your own hands. Shall I respect man when he contemns me? If I cannot inspire love, I will cause fear and work at your destruction, nor finish until I desolate your heart so that you curse the hour of your birth." And then in page 83, it says, "How can I move thee? Believe me, Frankenstein, I was benevolent. My soul glowed with love and humanity, but I am not alone. But am I not alone, miserably alone?" And I also want to talk about looks versus actions.
Yeah.
Why people assume the creation was the real monster. Because a lot of people think that the creation is Frankenstein, but Frankenstein is the creator, not the monster. So Victor, it started at the beginning where Victor judged his creation just based on appearance. When he created the monster, he was horrified, and just based on what the creature looked like, he was terrified of it, and so he immediately rejected the creation and fled the country for 2 years.
He didn't get to know the creature at all.
Yeah, he just looked at it and then ran away. And there's a quote from page 60. 2 years had now nearly elapsed since the night on which he first received life, and was this his first crime? Alas, I had turned loose into the world a depraved wretch, whose delight was in carnage and misery. And another example that I really liked from the book was the blind guy. I think he was a really necessary character to the story, because he's the first person to judge the creature just based on not based on appearance, but on character. Because he's blind, he had no choice but to just get to know the creature instead of judging him on appearance, because he didn't know what he looked like, so he couldn't do that. Are talking about the creature's friends. Yeah, the creature and the blind guy were talking about the creature's friends, not really friends, but people he met before he met the blind guy. And the blind guy says, "They are kind, they are the most excellent creatures in the world, but a fatal prejudice clouds their eyes. And where they ought to see a feeling and kind friend, they behold only a detestable monster." That's from page 106. And yeah, I think that's a really good quote, because it talks about how the blind guy sees the value in the monster, and he knows that the monster isn't a monster. He's but because people just judge based on appearance, they look at him and see a monster. And the creature replies with, "I tenderly love these friends. I have, unknown to them, been for many months in the habits of daily kindness towards them. But they believe that I wish to injure them, and that it is that prejudice which I wish to overcome." And so even the creature wants to overcome the prejudice. He's not going to give up. Like he still strives for human connection, even though he's been rejected by pretty much everyone. In page 107, it says, "I am blind and cannot judge your countenance, but there is something in your words which persuades me that you are sincere." And so everything that happened with the blind guy is like, I think it's really important to the story, and really important when you're judging the creature's character.
Yeah.
And then one other example I found, later the creature finds a child in the woods. The quote says, "Ugly wretch, you wish to eat me. Child, I do not intend to hurt you. Hideous monster, let me go. My papa is M. Frankenstein, he would punish you. My enemy is not impregnable. This death will carry despair to him, and 1,000 other miseries shall destroy him." So at first the creature is completely innocent and just wanted human connection, but the child turned out to be Frankenstein's younger brother, William, and the creature was driven by rage against Victor and killed William just from resenting Frankenstein.
And he was smart enough to blame it on the other girl. Like, he took the locket and placed it in that other girl's hands.
Yeah. So that's how, like, the influences of the world drove him to become monstrous.
Yes. And the last thing we'd like to bring in is some other monsters and villains from other stories that can relate to Victor's story as him being the true monster. So we're talking about the actual monsters in like other stories. So like in Medusa's story, Medusa is seen as the terrible like monster, like she turns him into stone with her thighs. But what really happened to get Medusa that way is Poseidon saw her as very attractive, and he sexually assaulted her. And another Greek god saw that as Medusa breaking her vow of chastity? Vow of innocence, something like that. And she cursed Medusa to be like that. So Poseidon is the real monster of Medusa's story because he was never punished for what he did to Medusa. And that's what led Medusa to be like that. He wasn't blamed at all. In The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Victor is also similar to the character Claude Frollo. Frollo starts off as a self-proclaimed like righteous man, similar to Victor, who started off as like a noble kind of scientist. Like he wanted to be a noble scientist. He wanted to make this big creation, and he's thinking he could do anything without any consequences. But then in Hunchback of Notre Dame, Frollo shows that he is the true monster by the way he treats the gypsies and Quasimodo. And Victor shows that he's the real monster based on how he treats his creation that he made. Yeah. In conclusion of all that evidence, we need to answer our main topic. Why is Victor the true monster of this story?
Well, since a lot of people think the creature is the real monster, but I really think that's just because of looks. I mean, creature, if you look at Victor's actions, he was much more evil than the monster and had much more, he had like sinister plans, and the creature did not.
It's like the main point of the book to see Victor as the real monster rather than Frankenstein, because Frankenstein is truly innocent and Victor was the monster all along because of how he neglected his child, his creation, and how that led to so many other tragedies happening.
Mm-hmm.
So he was responsible for like all the murders that Frankenstein had committed, including the murder of his wife. Okay.